Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about when to step out of the way, or my alternate title, which was way too long to fit on the title card, things I didn't do as much as didn't stop from happening, which isn't something that I said, it's what somebody said to me. I'll tell you that story, but this video is probably about the single most important thing that you can learn how to do if you want to be a leader. If you want to be the lead programmer or lead artist or lead designer of a group, if you want to be a producer, or if it happens, you're a game director. And that most important thing that you need to learn how to do above everything else is when to just get out of the way and let the people who are on your team do what they do best. And this came up because last week I did a video on endings, and I told, once again, the story of how Fallout's ending was not what I had asked for. It was something Leonard came up with. You know, I wanted the party, and Leonard came up with, we're going to kick you out of the vault. And I was like, I don't think people are going to put up with that. We did it. Anyway, after I finished that video, I was texting back and forth with Leonard, and it went just like this. I wrote it down because I wanted to say it here. I said, once again, I find myself telling the story of Fallout's ending and how I wanted a party with balloons and cake, and you said, how about we try something else? And Leonard responded, that was the best ending we ever did. And I said, I just watched that all happen. And Leonard said, but you didn't stop us, and that's the huge thing. And we talked some more about it, and I remember thinking, that was pretty important. I mean, he remembers it really clearly too. It was not that as the person in charge, I approved of it and tried to put my stamp on it, which a lot of leaders try to do. They're like, I like what you do, but change this one thing, so then later on they can say that was me. I was just like, I took my hands off and went, this is good. You just go do that. I talk about that. I talked about it in addition to the endings video. I talked about it in the video of my ideas that got rejected. Both of these will be linked below. Because this just didn't happen in Fallout. This has happened in almost all my games. And the other one I always think of is what happened with The Outer Worlds, where we were trying to make an internal video that showed the state of the game so we could show people on the team, look what we've put together. Everything's come together and it's working. And I had written a script. You know, I had come up with a script for an entire trailer. I even had music. I think I mentioned on here I wanted Pumped Up Kicks. But I think I also wanted Sex and Violence from the Scissor Sisters. But both of those would have worked great for my trailer. However, I wrote all this down. When I came in the next morning, our assistant producer, Lauren, had stayed late and put together her own trailer. And she showed it to me, and it was amazing. It was awesome. It was way better than what I had put together. And that's what I told her. I said, okay, we're doing yours. I'm throwing mine away. I'm not even showing mine to anybody. And from now on, I want you involved in our trailers. And but I asked her, I said, how did you do that? How did you come up with all that? And she'd already, ran it through an editor, a video editor. She'd put something together already. And she goes, oh, I'm a film major. And I was just like, wow. That was just, it was incredible to have a producer and then them just say, oh yeah, I've got this other amazing skill that I can just do whenever I want. And you have to know, you have to be able to recognize when something like that happens, and you just step back and you just keep doing what you're doing. I don't need to put my stamp on it. I don't need to put my stank on it. I threw mine out, moved on. This is something that so many people in charge, I'm sure it's more than just the game industry, but all my experiences in the game industry, so many people in charge don't know when to do that simple thing, which is just step aside. I think it is one of two reasons, too. Either they don't recognize that the thing they're saying is good, and in many cases better, than what they were already planning to do, especially if it was theirs. It's hard to look at something and go, that is better than mine. And then beyond they don't recognize it, some of them just won't recognize it. Maybe they do, they are thinking that's better, but they literally will not say that. And I think that's an ego thing. And I have a whole video on your ego and being a game director, which I think you should also watch, so I'll link that below. Because if your ego prevents you from being a good game director, then you're going to have a problem. And you're going to make games that aren't nearly as good as what your team could make. And I've said this before, and people go, well, what, should I just be a doormat to everybody on my team? And I'm like, no, I'm not saying you always accept the work of other people. And I put my foot down many times. Fallout was the first project where I was the person in charge. And I remember rejecting main quests because the person didn't put in a talk solution or a stealth solution. They almost always did combat solutions, but I required those 3 solutions on any quest that was along the main story arc. You had to be able to talk your way through it, sneak your way through it, or fight your way through it. And if I found one that didn't have that, I would reject it. I would write up a bug and say, you need to fix this. I've already talked about how I rejected this idea somebody had for a liquid metal robot and a chrome kind of, Terminator style robot, because I said that does not fit our visual language for this game. I've talked about rejecting talking raccoons because I'm just like, no, this is not going to go in this game. It's not going to be that style of game. I think I pulled out the phrase, not on my watch. That's not happening on my watch, and this is my watch. So what I want to point out there, too, is if you're going to be in charge of something, you have to be in charge of it. And part of that requires defining what the bar is, which is defined by your vision for the game, and then judging things. You have to be judgmental. A lot of people don't want to do that. I can't be judgmental. I don't want to be judgmental. You've got to be. You're the leader. Guess whose final decision is on everything that goes in the game? It's yours. So you'll be looking at everything judgmentally. But what that means is, if you judge something is better than what you've done, you got to step aside and let it in. If you're not doing that, then you're not really in charge. And you really don't have a defined vision. I would say you're just someone who manages schedules. That's all you are. Because if you're not doing these things, if you're not looking at everything going in the game and deciding this is good, this isn't, you're not being a leader. This is where it gets to the hard part, where people always go, well, how do I do that? How do I tell those things apart? How do you tell something good apart from something bad? And I'll admit, this is tough. I can tell you what it's not. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. It has nothing to do with your perception. It has nothing to do with how good you are at teasing little elements out and noticing tiny little things in the game maybe other people don't notice. I would say it's probably, if we're going along D&D stats here, it's probably closer to wisdom. But I'd probably say that even then, no, it's experience. It's pure experience. Which isn't me saying young people can't do this, because I've met a lot of old souls in young people. But what I'm trying to say is, because I think it's based on experience, the more games you make, the better you will be at this, which you will be a better leader. And I'm saying this is a good thing because it means it's something you can learn. I think the more games you make, you will get better at doing this. You will get better at going, okay, I know what game we're making this time. This fits, this doesn't. Or this is good, but this is better. And you will get good at that. And you will learn to recognize quality when you see it. And not just quality, but it also has to be quality that fits with your vision. And the thing you will have to be prepared for is this just might come from someone else besides you. And that's when you have to have the leadership sense to step out of the way and just let it happen. So I hope if you ever become a lead or a producer or a game director, I hope this helps.